Welcome back to our channel, where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. We are excited to share the following news. 1. Monego King Charles cuts off Harry as William seizes control of the crown. The atmosphere of Windsor, which is typically dense with the weight of 1,000 years of history, now bears a cold that is different from what it was before. A war that is waged not on battlefields but in the glittering halls of power via the deafening absence of a telephone call, and in the symbolic emptiness of a chair at a Christmas lunch, is that which is referred to as the chilly and motionless atmosphere of a silent war. This is the tale of two houses, two futures engaged in a war for the spirit of the British monarchy. The author told the audience, with an illness that now threatens to abbreviate his reign and a crown that he has waited a lifetime to wear, a king discovers that his power is slipping from within. This is happening in one palace in a different scenario. His successor, the Prince of Wales, observes with a chilly and pragmatic impatience. He is sure that the institution that he is meant to head is being led down an abyss by the very person who is supposed to be its ultimate custodian on a worldwide scale. This is not only a family drama, rather, it is a constitutional catastrophe that is unfolding in slow motion. It is a story about a terrible treachery that spans many generations, about Hollywood illusions that shatter when confronted with the harsh light of reality, and about a growing gulf between a father and son that threatens to tear the very fabric of the House of Windsor. At the same time as King Charles Roman III is coming to terms with his own mortality, the battle lines are shifting in preparation for what is to come. In addition, there is a single horrifying issue that lies at the center of this conflict. Is it possible for the monarchy to survive? Its own savior sources, deep inside the royal ecology, have been whispering that the answer is not at all definite. The foundations are trembling, and you can feel the tremors all the way from the perfectly groomed lawns of Monteto to the sacred corridors of Buckingham Palace. The mirage of Hollywood reveals itself. An additional sort of performance was taking place at the California mansion that was a beautiful example of sun-drenched magnificence with Love Meghan. The Christmas special that Meghan Markle produced for Netflix was intended to be a victorious capstone to her post-royal rebranding. It was intended to be a soft-focus, aspirational image of household joy, culinary expertise, and easy stardom. Authenticity, tenderness, and the calm strength of a woman who is in complete control of her tale were the goals of its creation. Instead, it turned out to be an inadvertent documentary of its own demise, a depiction of a beautifully crafted illusion that was starting to unravel at the margins. Even from media sources that are generally sympathetic to the cause of the Sussexes, the reviews were severely critical. They were not simply negative, they were brutally nasty. According to reports, the viewership statistics, which are the most important currency in the cutthroat world of streaming, were very low. However, the most damaging proof did not come from reviewers. Rather, it came from the camera footage of the concert itself. In a sequence that has subsequently been studied with the forensic rigor that is often reserved for a murder scene, Prince Harry makes a short appearance that is almost like a cameo. In the subsequent conversation, which is a lesson in awkwardness, there are a few seconds of footage that reveal much about the claimed truth that lies beneath the Archewell brand. It is a statement that is given with the forced joviality of a dinner party host attempting to smooth over a difficult situation. Meghan makes a joke about Harry's tolerance for spice while he is sampling a dish. She offers him a towel because he is going to sweat. There is a staged gasp and forced laughing from Meghan in response to Harry's remark, which is a backhanded praise that her gumbo is definitely near to her mother's, but not quite as delicious. The conversation is awkward and lacks the natural cadence that is characteristic of true connection. Nevertheless, the ultimate moment of disclosure, the remark that insiders refer to as a Freudian slip of astonishing proportions, occurs as Harry is getting ready to exit the screen. "Thank you for coming," Meghan says with a bewilderingly formal tone as she turns to her husband, who is the father of her children. The type of courteous dismissal that one would give to a tradesperson or a neighbor who has overstayed their welcome is not the kind of dismissal that one would give to a life partner. One veteran royal analyst named Tom Sykes made the observation that it was a moment in which the performance forgets itself and the audience glimpses the shaky scaffolding underneath. The relationship, as it was depicted on screen, appeared to be staged as if they were two actors cast in the roles of husband and wife, with their union being governed more by mutual branding, obligations than shared domestic instinct. The interaction was not only awkward, it felt profoundly and fundamentally lonely. Meghan, the driven and ambitious actress who meticulously plans every public move. And Harry, the emotionally scarred prince who reportedly longs for the unscripted and casual banter of his former life, but finds himself a supporting character in a Hollywood production, have been described as having a complex dynamic for a long time by sources close to the couple. Instead of highlighting their teamwork, this sequence brought to light the vast distance that exists between their respective worlds. A ghost in the machine. A far more significant issue was developing behind the scenes, and the tension that was playing out on film was only a symptom of it. There was a growing agreement among those working in the entertainment sector that Netflix, the multinational corporation that had reportedly Clear's throat, placed a wager of $100 million on Sussexes, was announcing their withdrawal in a covert manner. The promotion of the Christmas special did not get the same kind of hype that is generally reserved for high-profile celebrities. It was noticeably missing on the homepage of the site, which is a valuable piece of digital real estate that is designated for material that is considered to be essential. Netflix made the decision to unleash its bombshell P, which members of the industry insiders saw as a planned act of sabotage. There was a documentary about Diddy only 24 hours before Meghan's special was released, which ensured that all of the media's oxygen would be taken by a topic that was far more spectacular. The most cynical and telling indication, on the other hand, was a ghost in the machine. It was the short sight of Guy Meghan's beloved beagle on the screen. It would not have been noticeable to the average spectator that the dog was there. The multitude of royal watchers and business experts who follow the Sussexes' every move, on the other hand, found it to be a strikingly unusual occurrence. It was in January of that year that Meghan made the announcement to the world that Guy had really died away. It was obvious that the Christmas special, which was released several months later, had been taped almost a year earlier. It is common practice in television production to take out continuity problems of this kind in order to avoid confusing the viewer. According to insiders deep within the production business, the decision to leave the video of Guy in the final edit, it was a purposeful and brutal message from Netflix to the industry. Guy was a character in the film. It was a timestamp, which was a technique of signaling that this was not fresh material, but rather old footage that had been recorded in a single block with their prior series and then patched together on the cheap in order to satisfy a contractual commitment. To put it another way, Netflix was essentially selling off its inventory. The addition of the dead dog, which had no function in the story, was a signal to Hollywood that said, "We are the end of the story. All we are doing is squandering the remaining portion of contract." There have been reports that this perceived betrayal by their most prominent business partner has sent shockwaves through the Sussex camp, which has further exacerbated the tensions that were already there. There have been rumors circulating for some months that their professional goals are fundamentally incompatible with one another. According to reports, Harry is really uneasy about the constant exposure, and he has resisted the idea of posting his children Archie and Lyot on social media, which is an essential component of current brand building, taking on hired gun activities that are far distant from the great humanitarian objectives that were declared upon their retirement from royal responsibilities. His recent appearance as a paid speaker at a real estate conference in Toronto was perceived by many as a symptom of a man who is adrift. Meghan, on the other hand, is said to be the one who truly really wants to be the star, while Harry, who is the one who has genuine stardust, continues to be the reluctant participant. Meghan is the one who is described as being the driving force behind their media empire. A volatile dynamic has been established as a result of this basic tension, which is that one partner craves the limelight while the other shrinks from it. This dynamic is now being challenged by the harsh reality of their professional failures. Freeze in the transatlantic heart. They have not been able to keep the ramifications from their Hollywood dream from spreading beyond the state of California. According to insiders with a strong position, it has become the impetus for a significant and probably irreparable escalation in their confrontation with the royal family of the United Kingdom. An insider who is familiar with the contentious discussions asserts that the biggest cause of contention inside the marriage at the present time is the difficult financial and professional circumstances that they are now facing. An explosive accusation is that Meghan has been pressuring Harry, who is hesitant to return to the United Kingdom, to do so. This is not for the purpose of reconciling with her, but rather to capitalize on the one commodity they still possess, which is royal secrets. The approach, as explained by the source, was to demand a major financial commitment from the royal family with the implied threat that if the money were not available, a new television project would disclose still more embarrassing material about the inner workings of the monarchy. This was the strategy that was implemented. It was this purported effort at what some people have referred to as emotional blackmail that reached the breaking point for King Charles. The younger son and daughter-in-law of the monarch had been relentlessly attacking him in public for a number of years. The monarch had made it through this ordeal. In the interview with Oprah Winfrey, he was subjected to allegations of racism. In Harry's memoir, Spare, he was confronted with extremely personal and emotional discoveries. And in their Netflix documentary series, he was subjected to criticism that was only somewhat concealed. Reportedly, he kept a channel of communication open in the hopes that his prodigal son could one day return to the fold. Throughout it all, he remained silent in public, sticking to the family's long-standing slogan of never complain, never explain. This mantra has been in place for a long time, but it is frequently ineffectual. Nevertheless, this most recent claimed threat, which consisted of a direct and explicit demand for money in return for quiet, crossed a very holy red line. Charles no longer saw this to be a disagreement inside his own family. Rather, he viewed it as an assault on the crown itself. Reportedly, in reaction, the king has taken what is essentially the same as a nuclear option for the royal family. He has cut off all direct communication with Prince Harry. There has been a disruption in the communication routes. No one picks up the phone when they call. In all intents and purposes, the son who was formerly fifth in line to the kingdom is now in exile due to the fact that his own father and sovereign have severed his connection to the throne. The king's stance has become more firm as a result of this legislation, which is an acknowledgement that the policy of quiet diplomacy had been unsuccessful and that the only way to safeguard the institution was to construct a firewall against the perceived poison of the Sussexes. Harry is now more isolated than he has ever been before since the transatlantic freeze has become total. He is stranded between a failing American dream and a British family that has firmly and perhaps finally slammed the door on him. The division of a kingdom by blood. During the time when the drama around the Sussexes is taking place in the warm rays of the California sun, a struggle that is far more serious and perilous is taking place in the obscure mists of England. This power conflict is so severe that it challenges the whole line of succession, and it is taking place between a monarch and his successor in a manner that is both calm and chilly. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, made a choice that was much more than a mere schedule problem when he decided to forego his father's Christmas lunch at Windsor, which is a treasured royal tradition. Instead, he chose to spend the time with his in-laws, the Middletons. It was a public statement of independence and a clear warning of a deepening split, according to the coded and symbolic language that the royal family uses. It is not a new phenomenon that has arisen as a result of the pressures that the new rule has brought about. The poisoned soil of the 1980s and 1990s, as well as the disastrous marriage of Charles and Diana, are the origins of this phenomenon, which has very deep roots. William, when he was a little kid, was not insulated from the suffering of his parents. Rather, he was thrust in the middle of every single one of them. In his mother's own words, he became her little wise old man, and he became her closest friend. Her son was the recipient of Diana's heartfelt confession, in which she detailed the anguish and betrayal she felt as a result of Charles's prolonged romance with Camilla Parker Bias. As a result of William being forced to shoulder the burden of his mother's suffering, he has developed a great protectiveness of her memory and a complicated relationship with his father and stepmother, which is often tense. Their personalities could not be more unlike, and their ideals for the monarchy could not be more distinct from one another, which has made this fundamental pain even more severe. Charles the Quirky, profoundly spiritual, and at times emotionally overwrought intellectual, has always been a man of esoteric hobbies, ranging from organic farming to defending shamans at Hyrove. Both of these passions have been a part of his life. In contrast, William is a product of a generation that is more contemporary, pragmatic, and media-savvy than the previous one. There is a notion that he is focused, disciplined, and at times merciless. He is a guy who is aware that in the 21st century, the future of the monarchy is not dependent on divine right, but rather on public opinion and immaculate execution. In contrast to his father, who seems to continue to view the organization through the romantic lens of a philosopher king, he evaluates the organization with the objective perspective of a chief executive officer. This fundamental divergence in approach to the world has now shown itself as an open disagreement on the path that the monarchy should take. According to some who are familiar with the inner workings of the palace, Prince William has grown more concerned about what he perceives to be his father's ineffective and hesitant management of the two major messes that afflict the House of Windsor, Prince Harry and Prince Andrew. He is of the opinion that the king, who is suffering from deteriorating health and a sentimental unwillingness to make difficult choices, is lacking the ability to cauterize these open wounds, so leaving behind a poisonous and perhaps lethal heritage for William to inherit during his own reign. The anxiety is very much present. The communication mechanism inside the royal family, which was already a stiff and formal procedure that was mediated via private secretaries rather than direct text messages, has become much more uncertain. According to reports, the two most powerful men in the country, the current and the future of the crown, are engaged in a war for dominance. This conflict is being fought behind the walls of the palace, while a facade of unity is being frantically maintained for the public. The problem of Andrew and the regency of the shadow. In the ongoing problem regarding Prince Andrew, the difference between William's demand for prompt action and Charles's perceived weakness is more apparent than in any other situation. There is no other location where this tension is more visible. It has become a continual public spectacle of monarchical impotence since the king is powerless to convince his disgraced brother to leave Royal Lodge, the enormous 30-room residence that is situated at the center of the Windsor estate. This is a situation that has grown rather embarrassing for the public. The king seems to be frozen, either unable or unwilling to bring his brother to heel. Despite the fact that the British people have long since made their choice, the name of Andrew has been taken from street signs and public buildings, and their decision has been in effect for a considerable amount of time. According to the sources, Andrew is on the verge of running out the clock, and he is certain that he will be able to outlast his brother's will to recover from his sickness. Not only is this a matter of awful optics for William, but it is also a public demonstration of his father's lack of authority, a failure that leaves the whole institution in a state of disrepute. Because of this, William considers this to be more than simply an issue of unfortunate appearances. There is also the fact that he is conscious of the fact that the public will not accept the connection with Andrew's disgrace, which is something that his father does not seem to realize. An unprecedented power play has taken place as a direct consequence of this discontent. According to reports, Prince William has demanded that his cousins, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, undertake a full evaluation of their financial situation and ethical standards before he would even consider the possibility of allowing them to take on official royal duties. The earlier financial activities of the individuals in question, which included transactions that were known to the general public and included a con artist from Turkey, are the source of his concern. The message that William is attempting to communicate is quite clear. The firm is in a condition of survival, and there is no room for anybody who may be a burden on the organization. The concept of a shadow regency has emerged as a result of this assertive and even violent attitude. This is the reason why the notion first existed. William is no longer content to wait in the wings for further information. An attempt is being made by him to gain control of the government, and he is requiring that all key decisions related to the state be made via his office at Kensington Palace. He is making a deliberate effort to seize control of the administration. One might see parallels between this and the actions that Queen Elizabeth Roman II took with Charles Crest in the last years of her life. In line with the Constitution, the following is the predetermined order of events that will take place during the transfer of power. There are, however, hints that King Charles is putting up a struggle against the situation, due to the fact that he has been waiting for more than 70 years to accede to the throne. He is not ready to step down from his position, despite the fact that his health is steadily declining. A constitutional crisis has arisen as a consequence of this impasse, which has therefore led to the establishment of a power vacuum that might possibly be hazardous. Despite the fact that the monarchy was established on the principle that there ought to be a clear and unambiguous line of command, there are now two centers of authority inside the monarchy that are in competition with one another. Both the court of the king, which is housed at Buckingham Palace, and the court of the Prince of Wales, which is housed in Kensington Palace, are now engaged in a dispute on policy, individuals, and ultimately the future. William is aware that the clock is ticking, and not only for his father, but for the monarchy as a whole as well. This is the source of his impatience, which originates from the bleak truth that he is aware of. As far as he is concerned, the only way to guarantee that his son, Prince George, will inherit the kingdom is to adopt a disposition that is swift, stern, and forward-thinking. Because the king is deteriorating, there will be a tremendous deal of pressure on him to delegate more authority to his son, whether it is in a public or private setting. Due to the fact that it is a method of managing the transition and ensuring that the project remains stable, the idea of a co-monarchy is now being studied as a possible solution. At the same time, however, it is not yet known whether or not it is feasible for two kings, one from the past and one from the future, to occupy the same throne at the same time. The betrayals that have taken place inside the House of Windsor, both public and private, have brought to the situation in which it is now at a crossroads. There is a potential that the last act of King Charles Roman III's reign may not be distinguished by his own actions, but rather by the silent and persistent pressure from the son who is waiting to replace him. This is a possibility that ought to be considered. This son is of the opinion that in order to succeed in rescuing the crown, he must first succeed in rescuing it from the king. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and say goodbye for now.